guys, welcome back to the Drone Camps channel. I'm Justin Davis, your host. Today we have something super cool from Foxtechfpv. You can check them out on their website below to check out the newest Lightning 210. This is a 4S race quad. It comes in ARF edition or ready to fly with a transmitter and a receiver and a battery. You don't need to do any building. The nice thing about this one is it is a very popular size. So 210 is very relevant right now. Like I said before, it comes with everything. It does have room on the bottom if you're going to put in a Taranis receiver in here, right underneath where the XT60 is going to run, right over top of it. You can zip tie that over to the left hand side. But before we get talking about some of the specs and some of the candy on this one, let's go ahead outside and I'll show you guys how this one rips and how it'll take a hit in a crash. Coming right up. Okay guys, thanks for watching that flight footage. Now we're back in the studio. I can tell you what's relevant about this copter, and I can also tell you some of the pitfalls of the design and how you can mod it to change it to better suit you and your needs. Definitely a cool copter right out of the box. I was flying this within about 10 minutes. I did go back and make some changes for the better for my own flying style. I tend to be really rough on things, so I'm a good person to review this. And I do crash a lot because I'm trying stuff that's probably a little bit ridiculous when I'm trying to do freestyle flying and different big air maneuvers, because I need a lot of power to power out of a huge maneuver before I hit the ground. A lot of times, sometimes I just hit the ground full speed. So great durability test on this thing. It did survive just about everything I threw at it. I didn't break any arms and barely any damage on this copter, and I did crash it quite a few times. Nothing seemed to jar out of place when I did crash it, so that's really cool. If you're gonna fly this, if you're gonna race this, I would put a different VTX on here. I would put the 200 or the 25 milliwatt on here. Take this 600 milliwatt off here, toss it to the side, use it for something that you're gonna fly a little longer range, maybe a little better penetration with this one, but when you're not flying with friends. So if you're flying with friends, 200 or 25 milliwatt is perfect because you're not going to blow people off. What will happen if you have the 600, you turn this on and all of a sudden your friend who's flying next to you can't see what they're seeing because they're only seeing your video signal. So this 600 will run right over top of 200 milliwatt and any 25 milliwatt transmitter, video transmitter. So keep that in mind. Sleek design on this. It looks very similar to a lot of quads we've seen out there, but it has a little something different to it with this long flatbed here and the rails that come up over top of where the battery will be, so it actually shields the battery a little bit. They did give us a couple extra straps here, and these are really nice straps. I showed these in my initial review unboxing of this. They are coated, rubber coated, so these probably not going to break too easy. I break other straps all the time because the 4S batteries are super heavy when they go in for a crash. They have a lot of ejection weight off the frame, so GoPro battery and everything sometimes just fly off these things. So this strap is a little wider as well than some of the other straps out there on the market. I can show you one here. Try not to show any logos. So this is your standard strap, and then this is the Foxtech strap that comes with it. So quite a difference. This one's probably 1/2 inch, and this one looks like it's close to 1 inch wide. One thing that I'm not sure about, the way I really don't like, is the fact that when you do put the strap around it, I'm going to show you where the strap lays. The strap is in this vicinity. So even as if I loosen it up and I push it as far back as I can get it toward the rear, look where it's sitting. It's sitting almost, not quite halfway in the center of the battery. So I would like this in a next future version to have it closer to the middle. But this is fine. The battery did not fly off in my crashing and my flight tests, so it remained on there. And this big strap will go all the way around the copter. Don't try to put it actually through the slots here. And the way I had it set up in here, I can't put it through this slot anyway. There's stuff in the way. So one thing to think about, and the CG might be just a little off if you have the battery on there like this. And this is as far forward as I can get this battery. So if you run a 1300, it'll be a little bit shorter, and you'll probably have a better center of gravity if you use a fat short stack 1300 battery. And you'll still get a pretty good flight time out of a 1300. You can finish a race. It does come with Dal props. These are not the bullnose style props. They are cambered just a little bit on the ends, and those are a little better for racing in my opinion. A little more efficient than the bullnose prop. Your XT60 comes out the back. You can mount it vertical. It does come with a nice little rubber grommet. I don't use that because I let it hang out the back here. Also, the VTX comes out the back. This is the way Foxtech sent it to me. It was mounted up here. I can actually still just barely get to the channels in here with a little mini screwdriver, a flathead. And I mounted my receiver up underneath this VTX right here. I ran my wires, my antennas out the bottom, because like I've said before in some of my previous videos, when you go in for a crash, a lot of people have them coming off the top, the antennas, but then they bend back and they go in the props. So if you bring them out the rear at the bottom on the rear, when you go in upside down, your antennas are on top and hopefully don't get chewed up. So that's not a bad way to do it. Not much space up here on the front for a GoPro or a Mobius. It is a little tight in here. If you put a Mobius on here, or your other run cameras, we have one in the studio here somewhere, but it does hang out just a little bit. So what I did was gave it more of a vertical stack underneath it with some foam or something, and there is enough room in here to get a strap through here up and up around your camera, so it does have a nice tilt. My camera did fly off a few times in a couple crashes. Now, you do have 20 amp ESCs on this, your standard 50-45 props. 2205 motors are really popular right now. These motors are super nice. These are 2300 kVs on here, and the battery itself is a 1500. You probably saw that earlier. This is a 40C battery, which is not bad. It could be a little higher on the C rating, but I'm not going to complain about that. Now, it is fully assembled, which is super, super nice. Like I said before, the flight controller is a Naze32. It is the revision 6 on here. And let's go ahead and talk about that. Notice how you don't see any pins here. I'm going to show you in a video coming up next, and we're going to show you how to remove those pins and do a direct solder on your board. Direct solder and pinless soldering is really popular right now because it saves a ton of room. So all of those pins up inside here are now gone. So a lot cleaner setup for this particular quad. You do not want your receiver cable hanging off the side right here, especially if you're taking chances while racing. You're going to crash quite a bit on the course, or you're going to smack some gates and stuff. So we don't want to risk breaking that off. So now it's all neatly tucked up inside here, and then my receiver back here. So that's going to work out just a lot better for crashing. So why don't I take a second now, let's go ahead and watch that video where we remove those pins, and then I'll finish up the review after that. Hey guys, welcome to this special section of the review. I wanted to show you guys this in this review. It's very important to me to show you how to remove these pins. Very simple process. I'm at the kitchen table, so you might actually hear my kids in the background, but very important to me that I show you this. So here's the way you're going to do this. You're going to take the top off here. You're going to remove this, set that to the side. These pins are sticking out here on the side. Those are the ones that stick you every single time you go to pick this copter up. And you don't want your pins, your servo lead sticking out on the side here and plugged in. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a direct solder to the board, and we're going to snip this off, and we're going to direct solder those straight to the board. It is labeled underneath the bottom of the board here, so I'll know which wire goes where, and I'll show you how to do that. Now, first thing we're going to do is remove those plastic bits all along here. So take your snips and go ahead and snip in between each one and just remove them one at a time. And it doesn't matter if you bend the pins a little bit, because we're just going to remove them anyway. Completely remove them. Okay, so you can go ahead and slide those plastic pieces off so they don't get hot and melt while you're soldering, to remove the pins. Now what you want to do next is go ahead and heat up your soldering iron, and you're going to use some little needle nose pliers. Once you heat this up, you're just going to pull this post right out. Okay, so here we go. We're going to go ahead and remove the first one. Soldering iron is nice and hot, so I'll put that on there. I'll wait till that starts to liquefy a little bit, and it should loosen right up, and it should slide right out. And they loosen up pretty easily, so it shouldn't take you long at all to just go ahead and pull these out of there. And there we go, I have all of them removed, and now I can go ahead and snip off the ends of my servo lead. Uh-oh, buddy. Okay, so you can go ahead and snip off the end of the servo lead, and I'll go ahead and peel those back a little bit. And what I'll do is probably come up underneath the board and through to the top. It's a very easy technique to do it that way. I do like to do it that way. So what I might do first is actually use my solder removal tool and just pull the solder out of these holes, or I could just heat it up and come from below. But I think it'll be easier to go ahead and pull this solder out of these three holes in the first ones, because these top three are the ones you're going to need for using ppm, and I'll show you that coming up next. So I'm going to show you this from the top of the board, and what we have here is, let me grab a little pointer tool. What we have here is the first one to the front of your flight controller, that's ground. The next one is going to be your positive wire, and the number one, the one that says 1, that's going to be the ppm connection. That's your signal wire. So if you're using a servo, a series of wires that are white, red, and black, the black one would go here, the red one here, and the white wire would go on the third one down. That's labeled number 1. They're also labeled on the bottom of the board here. It says ground 5 volt ppm. So you would have black, red, white. Okay? So black, red, white. Now on my servo lead, 3 series of wires here, mine are brown, red, and orange, which is totally fine because the yellow one is going to be signal, red is going to be 5 volt, and the brown one's going to be ground. Okay guys, now I'm going to go ahead and remove the solder from the holes to make it a little easier when I set this up to do my solders. I'm going to use a solder removal tool. You're going to want to pick up one of these from Amazon.com, and what you're going to do is go ahead and start on the first one down, and that's all the way down here. I'm going to heat that up with the soldering iron so it turns into a nice little pool. I'm going to press this all the way down. I'm going to put it right up to the hole and press the button. Hopefully it removes it. If it doesn't, you might have to do it a few times. Okay, get it nice and hot. You want all that solder to melt. Should be melted. Okay, go ahead, hit it again. And that time it did remove the solder, so you can probably not see it on the video, but the first one is done. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the second one. Okay guys, I have my wires through. I have ground, 5 volt, and I have my signal wire coming through here. So I'm going to start on ground first. It's all the way down here, so I'm going to go ahead and heat that surface up. And I can add a little solder to my soldering, tip of my soldering iron first. Makes it a little easier on these smaller solders. Just go ahead and heat that surface up. Add a little more solder if you need to. And you have a nice connection there. I like to come up from the bottom because when I put the solder tip of the soldering tool on the wire, it kind of holds the wire in place, and it also heats up the pad at the same time, so kind of a nice combo. And also, when you're done, your wires don't come over the top of the board, they're underneath, so it ends up being a little neater when you go ahead and you put the board back down. So you kind of tuck the wire underneath. And now we have a pinless setup here, and I could go ahead and I can trim the top of these off a little bit to make sure that those are not sticking up or they don't touch something and short something out. Go ahead now and take your white little nylon nuts and put those back on the posts, and you should be good to go. Now you won't have these extra pins sticking out the side of the board, sticking you every time you pick it up. So I hope that helps you out with your Lightning 210. Okay, so hopefully if you watch that, now you know how to remove your pins off the side of here. If you're a veteran flyer, you already knew how to do that. No big deal, but that'll clean it up a lot. And hopefully that helps you guys out there, because I didn't see that anyone else showed how to do that. It's very, very simple to do that. Now you know how to do a pinless solder as well. So that's super, super nice and neat for racing and your flight controller setups. Even if you're soldering on your signal wires and your ground from your ESCs, in a build, that's very, very nice. It saves a ton of space, because you know what? Underneath here, we don't have a lot of room in here to work. So this camera, by the way, you guys, I didn't tell you before, but it is a 700 TVL, and that's a CCD camera on this one. So it's a Sony CCD. It's actually nice. I let a friend of mine fly it, and he was pretty impressed with the quality. So no complaints there for sure. On this 4S battery, I have plenty of punch, as you can see in some of the videos. The carbon frame itself, I would say that the carbon frame is up to spec as far as what racers want right now. We have 3mm, right about 3 mil on the frame itself. There we go. On the bottom plate, the side plates are right about 1.5. So you see 1.4 there, but I believe they're 1.5 mil. There we go, 1.5. And the same thing for the top plate. But I really enjoyed this copter. You know, like I said again, would I buy it? Yes. Myself, I would buy this, and then I would make it the way I want it to fly. I would definitely fly it on 4S. Those of you who want maximum punch out and you want maximum speed on the course, definitely go 4S. If you want a mild flyer, that's going to be nice for just zooming around the field. If you're an airplane guy and you're just getting into this, fly it on 3S. You can totally do that. You don't have to change anything in here. I can suggest some rates on here. If you want to put those into Cleanflight, you can put your rates up around 50, 50, and 45 or 40 on that last rate inside Cleanflight, and that'll have a nice tight loop and roll. You might also have to go in and do some pit adjustments in here, because they're not quite set up. Default PIDs are okay, but it really will take a little bit of tuning to get it nice and locked in. But right out of the box, the default PIDs are totally doable, so no problems. And that's it guys. That's it for the Lightning 210, and hope you enjoyed the footage and the time we spent with this one. This one's been a really nice quad for me to check out this week. Definitely one of my favorites this week. We have a couple more reviews coming up this week, so guys, go ahead and tune into the channel, and please subscribe. Again, I'm Justin Davis from Drone Camps. I'll see you on the next one.